All right, thank you for joining me today. I am with world record holder Anthony Oliveria. Anthony holds a record in the 275 weight pound class for the single ply division with a 1074 squat. That is 1,074 pounds. Not to be outdone by his multiply numbers of 1,110 pound squat, 639 pound bench, and 771 pound deadlift at 275 pounds. This dude is the real deal with the top 10 all time squat at single ply. I know he's not going to talk himself up, so I will. So without further ado, welcome Anthony Oliveria to Rainier Strength Systems. How are you doing this morning, my man?
Good, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm always inspired and excited to see people coming into this space and wanting to make content because I know that there's a part of powerlifting where they people think that it's corny to make content or they think this and that. So whenever somebody puts themselves out there, I'm always inspired by it because I know that people can kind of sometimes make you feel kind of silly for doing that shit. And I just think it's so rad because I mean I've been making content, powerlifting related stuff for like 10 years. It's been a decade. And I know how much flack you can get when, people don't understand why. Our sport alone catches enough shit. Am I allowed to swear? Am I good?
Oh, dude, you say whatever you want,
Okay.
man.
All right, cool. Yeah. So I catch a lot. I've caught a lot of shit. I still catch a lot of shit. And so I'm always inspired when, younger people want to put themselves out there, make content and create, situations where people can exchange information. So thank you for having me on. And I'm super excited to chat.
Yeah, man, being a business owner, trigger warning conjugate, elite FTS, these are things that inspired me to actually start a brand. And really, what my brand is about a lot is paying like homage to a lot of the legends that crafted the sport and started the sport. Some of the people that might have been forgot about, especially by the earlier generations just entering the sport. So I think it's really important to pay homage, respect, and understand the names that built the sport. The Terry Todds, the Louis Simmons, the Chuck Vogelpols, all the people that laid the groundwork for us to enjoy the sport that we love, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sick.
Um, so what inspired you to start Trigger Warning Conjugate?
Yeah, man. So I was powerlifting in New Hampshire and it's not a very big strength scene out here at the time. This was like 2000. Oh shit. I did my first meet in 2013, like late 2013, early 2014. And I was working at a gym. I interned at a gym and learned like the West Side protocol and the conjugate stuff. It was when they still had West Side certified gyms. And so I interned and then worked at this one gym and I moved to another gym and I had I had a handful of clients where it was like the first time I was taking on my own group, like that I was training myself without someone, mentoring me or whatever. And I just sort of when I got invited to Westside, I was like, I need to figure out a way to make money because I was going out there with no job and, living on someone's couch. And B, the people that I had started coaching, I had built really strong relationships with. So I wanted to make sure that they weren't left in the dust in New Hampshire, where there wasn't a lot of, especially at the gym I was at, there wasn't a lot of um, there wasn't a lot of people from our sort of genre of powerlifting where it was like the conjugate style. And a lot of people were more like the USAPL straight bar sort of stuff, which is cool. I want people to experience powerlifting however they can experience it, but I wanted to keep tabs on them. So I figured let's try this online stuff. Let's see how it goes. I had never done it before. I didn't even have a computer at the time. I had like this little workbook thing that couldn't even get on the internet. I would type on it and I would take pictures of the program and post the pictures of the program into this Facebook group that we made. So I started with it was five, I think it was five or six. I've told this story so many times I should have this down. It's five or six people. They're paying $50 a month for programming and video review. And one of the lifters, this lady by the name of Jackie, and she's really cool, but she's like second gen feminist, like super super liberal, and she came up with the name trigger warning conjugate because I have a tendency of like not doing compliment sandwiches. I just like if you look like shit, I'm gonna say, dude, like you look like shit. We need to fix this, right? I don't waste time. I don't use extra words. And so she came up with the name trigger warning conjugate, and I'm like to like basically say like Anthony's gonna say whatever he's gonna say, and yeah, we kind of built it from there. And I started bringing in. I remember it was $250 a month. I was like, all right, I'm not paying rent. I'm living on this guy's couch. $250 a month. I got $800 or $600 in my bank. I drive a Prius, so I don't really have to put much gas into it. And I don't have anywhere to go anyway besides the gym at this point because I'm living in Ohio. Like I don't have any friends out here really, so I'm not doing anything. And it just sort of grew from there. I had a buddy who I used to play music with make me a design. I basically told him, I was like, dude, so I don't want a lion and I don't want like a barbell or a plate. I don't want like because the companies at the time that were big were like Live Large was really big and stuff like that, and those companies were cool, but I wanted to separate myself from like the bent barbell shirt, and so I was like, make me. I would love a shirt that involved chains and like a logo that kind of looked like a early 2000s hardcore band logo. And he came with the globe with the chain, and it's become kind of like iconic, that look, like people know what that is.
Oh yeah.
And this the Stay Hated stuff, it came from a place of like we used to joke around, me and my wife, before we were together. We were just training together, me, her, and this kid Reed. We all trained together in the mornings at this gym we were at, and we were just like, it was kind of a sterile gym. It was they had all the sick equipment, but it was like very sharp and clean. And like, it was, and we were coming in, we are the only people in gear. We're loud, obnoxious, training in the morning, like, and trying to, we would say like, oh, we're the most hated training group in New Hampshire. Like just being assholes, like like
Yep.
baby powder and chalk everywhere and whatever. And then it kind of morphed from that into like this thing where the Stay Hated slogan and the brand of the whole thing is just like we were just doing what we wanted to do, right? Like we wanted to wear equipment. We wanted to train conjugate. We wanted to train with an intensity. And whether if we had been in there and we trained like a bunch of pussies, people would have disliked us for that, right? If we go in there and we train intense, people would hate us for that. We go in and, we listen to hip hop, people will hate that. We listen to metal, people will hate that. Whatever you do, someone's going to have something to fucking say, right? Like, like I've
Yep.
said it before in other podcasts, like, you know, I'm not a religious person, but like, we can agree that Mother Teresa was probably a good person. There are people that hate Mother Teresa. So fucking whatever you do, people are going to dislike you. So you might as well do what you want and stay hated. And that's where the slogan came from. It was born of just like being, yourself. And I feel like part of the brand, it started as just a powerlifting thing, right? And coaching and training. And then, we got into the apparel and everything. And now I think it's turned into, or I would like to believe it's turned into a thing where, people sort of live by that slogan, and it gives people the license to be themselves. And that's something that, like, when I was a kid, I always, I wouldn't say I struggled with it, but I was always kind of an outcast, sort of an outsider. And there were certain people that I looked up to, and certain, like whether it be hardcore music or punk rock, like being yourself and being uniquely yourself and fuck what anybody thinks. And I'm glad that I had that in my life. And so I try to kind of, with the brand, give people that license to like be yourself. Like, who cares what anybody thinks? Like, at the end of the day, you get lowered into the fucking ground by yourself. So you might as well be happy with who you are and how you present. So, yeah, that's sort of like my long-winded answer, but it's grown into this thing that I never thought, you hear like bands will say it like, oh, we never wanted to be a big band. We just started making music that we liked, right? And that's how I feel about trigger warning. Like, not like we're this huge brand. We're not Nike. You know what I mean? We're not
Yeah.
Rogue.
Yeah.
But I support my family. Like, we've bought a house, we've moved across the country, like we do pretty good. And I never ever thought, like, I thought I would swing a hammer for the rest of my life.
Right.
So I never thought that this would be this way. And I'm super grateful every day. So that's why I try to give more than I take, because I know that people support the brand because it's done something for them personally, but also because they know that they're supporting me and they vibe with me. So, yeah, man. Every day that I wake up, I'm grateful that I don't have to punch a time card or meet up on a job site. I respect the fuck out of people who do that, and I did that for a long time. I am super, super, super grateful that I'm able to live this life that I get to live.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. It's very admirable, you know. Now I compete raw myself, but I'm getting into equipment. Probably like December, probably be my first single ply meet. So starting polyester single ply. A lot of people in the raw sphere I've noticed have a very negative attitude, or there's a lot of just negative association with the powerlifting equipment. I think a lot of that negativity, most of it honestly, stems from just a misunderstanding, which is where a lot of hate originally just like comes from. People are misunderstood. They're like they don't understand, so they're just gonna their knee jerk reaction is gonna be to hate it, right? Or to
Sir, yep.
misjudge, mischaracterize it. So, what can raw powerlifters learn from the equipped guys? Whether it be mentality, training, whatever. What can the raw guys learn?
Yeah, so I think that, when I got into equipment pretty quickly. In 14, I was, it was within the first year of me getting into powerlifting, I was like, I want to do multiply. Part of the thing that brought me into multiply was the fact that it was the outcasts and it was not popular. Like, when I was getting into equipment was just when, like, Brandon Lilly was starting to do like the big raw push with Juggernaut and all that stuff. And he had come from West Side. So there was a lot of hate towards, the big fat, quote unquote, multiply powerlifters who are only strong because they're in equipment. They're only strong because they're on way more drugs. They're only, that all of those like stereotypical
Yep.
things. I think it's gotten much better now. I think that, like, the West Side versus the World documentary probably did a really good job. Michael Fahey did an awesome job with that. And, like, I think it got it out to the masses a little bit more. And just like social media in general. But yeah, I think that, raw powerlifting tends to be more of a young man's sport. Um, because the typical career length is a little shorter because you get more beat up. It's definitely more of a right now, I want to be strong right now thing where it's like, and I don't mean this in any disrespect. I love raw powerlifting. I have friends that raw powerlift, and I think the stuff that they do now is fucking insane. Like, the especially like the raw females, like, it's just fucking nuts, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
They're so strong and it's so cool, but I think that a lot of it is like I don't mean this in like a boomer way, but it's sort of TikTok culture where it's like they want to be strong right now and they want to and that's the culture, right? Like big jumps, dudes come out of nowhere, huge total.
Yeah.
Obviously you have the guys like Hack and all those guys who are, incredible lifters, have been doing it for a long time, but people want to make these big jumps. And I think that with gear, there's such a skill component to it, and it's so dangerous, or can be so dangerous, that I think that raw lifters could learn a little patience from it, right? You look at somebody like Hoff, right, who's been doing this for 20 years at a high level.
The best.
There aren't many raw guys who can say that their career spanned that long at that level. Now there are tons of guys who did it for a long time, but were not very good at first, and or started very good and are still doing it, but they're on their way out or whatever. But I think the longevity of equipment is something, and the patience of, like, you don't have to be strong right now, bro. There's a lot of guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure Chuck squatted 1170 at like 45 years old. Donnie did the first 3,000 pound total at, like, into his 40s. If you're,
46, dude.
yeah, if you're,
46 years
if
old, dude.
crazy, crazy. So if you're smart and you're patient, you know, you can be in this for a really long time. And for me, especially as I get on like, the back nine of my career, I, I want to do this forever. I want to be able to do this forever, right? Will I be able to be top 10 in the world forever? No, of course not. That like time waits for no man, right? But the equipment allows you to protect yourself with how dangerous it is. It also allows you to protect your joints and kind of continue your training on. So what I always say is, all roads lead to a pair of briefs. Eventually people are going to get so smoked, and they're going to, they end up putting on, it starts with, they'll put on a slingshot, the shoulders, or they'll put on a slingshot, and then they might put on the Spud Gateway briefs. And they start, and it just, and it
Oh,
kind of, their hips feel a little bit better. So then they start,
yep.
and they just kind of dip their, we call it, people, I didn't coin this term, people, ply curious. They start kind of feeling this way. So I think that, listen, man, the weirdest, what I find to be the weirdest with the raw versus gear thing is, and I've experienced this a lot of times, the dudes, and it's usually, it's not usually women. It's not usually some girl sitting there being like, fuck these guys and equipment. It's usually a
Yeah,
dude doing it. So these dudes will sit there and they'll talk all this shit about equipped powerlifting, but they'll know a lot about it.
yeah,
They'll know a lot about what gear you're wearing. Like if you could tell me what brand bench shirt I wear, but I can't even tell you what your total is, like you're a fan. You're not
yeah,
mad. You're a fan. So I think that a big thing that the raw community can learn from equipped lifting is like, hey man, you should do what you want. Like we're over here making less money at meets, getting less eyeballs on us, just doing what we want to do. You should stay where you're at and do exactly what you want to do. And I think that every discipline of powerlifting has its positives and negatives. And I think if we can sit there and say, it's like, I don't know, man, what are we in high school? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you like country music? That shit's whack. Whatever,
yeah,
dude. If you want to listen to country music and you want to go to a hoedown, you should fucking do it. Throw on your overalls and get it cracking,
yeah,
Um, Same thing with powerlifting, dude. If you want to do bare knee, walked out, straight bar stuff, you should. And you should
yeah,
have a great time doing it. But don't give me shit for wearing a canvas and going out of a mono and say that raw powerlifting is the real powerlifting when you're doing a walkout meet, sure, but you're not doing it on a 20 kg bar, you're doing it on a 30 kg bar. So which one is it? And and
yeah,
and also, listen, like geared powerlifting came first. There was no raw, you know, and the only reason I feel like I have to defend it is just more so to educate people where, like for example, a big guy from out here is Greg Panora, right? So he's from New England,
yep.
and he
I
coaches a
wrote a
lot of
piece on
raw,
him.
right?
Yep,
Great guy, Greg.
yep.
I've known Greg for years. Wild man, love it.
Yeah, dude.
He doesn't
Yeah.
give a fuck. He just goes, and I love that. I respect that. So, he does a lot of the raw lifting stuff, right? He coaches more raw powerlifters. There was a time before Westside versus the World, there were tons of people who were on Greg's jock, didn't even realize that he used to train like he used to be a geared lifter. They
Yep.
don't even understand that that's where it came from. They'll sit there and say all these things and they don't understand. It's like, hey man, like that epic deadlift from like Ed Cohn where he's wearing the yellow quote unquote singlet, that was a single ply suit.
Yep.
So like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
people don't really understand the history of it. So and I'm not one of these dudes where like you have to know the history of what you're doing, but if you're gonna pop off and say some shit, you should know the facts. And the
Yeah.
facts are raw lifting is the newest. Well, I guess unlimited would probably be the newest, but raw lifting is the newest sort of uh genre of powerlifting. Like I said, man, I think it's fucking sick. That Colton record breaker guy, he's a fucking alien. Like that dude's
Yeah,
a
dude.
fucking alien. It's crazy because I'm looking
Yeah.
at it and it's like, man, I know what 1030, like we're basically the same weight, and I know what 1,000+ pounds feels like in equipment. This
Yeah, bro.
motherfucker's doing it in knee wraps. Like you're a savage at the same, so there's really cool stuff happening in the raw world, and I think a lot of the beef, maybe it's because I stopped paying attention to it,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but a lot of the beef kind of seems to have died down. It was gnarly in like 2015, 16, bro. when I first got out to Westside, I had a couple squats that had like 100,000. I had like 4,000 followers or something. Like I was, it wasn't like this big Instagram, and I'd have like 100,000 views, 50,000 views on a squat, telling me to kill myself and everything else. And these
Yeah,
crazy things,
dude.
getting my shit shared to, quarter squat gang and all that stuff, and people just
Yeah.
going fucking absolutely losing their minds.
Yeah.
To me at the time, you get sucked into it and whatever, but I think that I think it's settled down quite a bit. I
Yeah.
think dudes like, I don't know if you're familiar with Phil Herndon, but like dudes like that, they're doing a really good job of touching every part of powerlifting, and
Yeah.
doing crazy shit, like
Yeah, dude.
absolutely insane shit. He's a freak,
Yeah.
and I think that is very, people might not feel awesome about it all the time, but for me, I feel great about what Phil's doing because he's connecting the dots. And you look at this dude, it's like he's done sleeves, wraps, single ply, multiply, unlimited. He's done all of it, and in all of those disciplines, he's done really well. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool, and I think that people, I think that it's mellowing out. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as it used to be. It used to be
Yeah.
crazy toxic. What I found is like the toxicity of the different genres. Now what's happened is they've kind of become sort of contained. It's like,
Yeah.
power, like multiply powerlifting has its bullshit within itself.
Yep.
Raw has its bullshit within it. It's like when I look at it and I see drama from like the raw community, I look at them like I don't even know who these people are. Like I don't know
Yep.
who's mad at who. I can't even tell what this meme is about.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who this person is.
Yep.
But I think for the most part, man, like, just respect people. I respect lifters. I love lifters. I learned that from Ed Cohn. I love lifters, real
Yep.
lifters. And
Absolutely.
I don't give a fuck what you wear, dude. I'm not a huge fan of the unlimited, the bandy stuff, but if that's how you want to lift weights and you're an honest person and you work hard and you love this and you do it for the right reasons, I respect that. And those right reasons can be anything from I want to do this to I want to beat this guy to it helps me focus on, helps me get away from my normal life, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I respect all forms of powerlifting and strength training. I think it's all super badass.
Yeah. And it's, with the unlimited stuff, I kind of share your opinion on it as well. But then you tap into the top guys over there, which like, obviously Kolb is on his own planet. And then you have like Carlino is massive as well. Dude's a huge bencher. And you're like, well, yeah, but it's unlimited. But then you go to their single ply numbers and you're like, oh, fuck, they're like just as big almost. Like, holy
Crazy,
shit, man.
crazy. The best people are going to be the best people, right? So it's like, it's like Jimmy was going to be the best bencher.
Yeah.
That's what
Yep.
was going to happen, bro. Like Jimmy was going to be the best bencher,
It was just going to
and
be
it did.
unfair.
It's going to level up. You know what I'm saying? Like those
Yep.
dudes are going to go. If initially, there's like this push, and people are kind of close, and then the freaks just go boop, and they go right over the top. It's like there were a couple people fucking around with like 28s, 2,900. I've said fuck that, 3,100, and no
Right.
one's even fucking close.
Yeah.
When he did that, like we thought 3,000. I was at the 3,010 meet. I was at the 3,014 and the 3,100. I was at all of them. I've been at every 3,000 plus total for Hoff except for his first one. I've been
Yeah.
there to watch it, and every time it's insane, and every time like that, it just shows you the separation
Yeah.
with the top echelon guys. And if Hoff decided to go, like if he had been a single ply lifter, he would have been the best single ply lifter. If he
Yep.
had got, the
Yep.
guys who are the best are the best. Like you drop Wayne Gretzky into the NHL, if he grew up in this era, he would be just as dominant now as he was back then because he'd be around the guys who are as good as they are now. Like
Absolutely.
the best people are going to be the best people because it's between the ears. You obviously have to have
Yeah.
the genetic component, but how many dudes do you know that are crazy jacked, and crazy strong, but they're scared of big weights, or
Yep.
they can't check the other boxes, or whatever. The freaks are going to be the freaks no matter what discipline they are in.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of touched on the adversity part of, coming up, getting a lot of hate, stuff like that. And it takes a lot of real, like, just mental fortitude to get past a lot of that, because people can always say it rolls off my back, whatever, but that criticism at some point does start to break down your barrier. It does start to get to you. You get a little bit defensive, pissed off. Maybe you think about it when you're not supposed to. It'll start to affect other aspects of your life. So with that, you've had to deal with a plethora of adversity, whether it's injuries or criticism of your training, your brand, whatever, a ton of adversity. So you spoke about your journey to sobriety in the past. I think that's very important. I catch shit for being straight edge myself. So, like I understand some of that aspect of it, a dimension of it, but what does sobriety mean to you, and how does that help you throughout your day-to-day life and in powerlifting?
Yeah, so first of all, like I like to be really, upfront about stuff. So I'm off of I don't take any sort of opiates. That's, that was my thing, was an opiate thing. I don't call it sobriety because I don't if I don't really like drinking.
Yeah,
But like, if I want to have a drink, I will. That's not a trigger for me. It never has been.
right.
So I don't call it sobriety, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like because
Yeah, bro.
because for me, I want to be honest to um I just want to stay straightforward with that stuff. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
since I got off of dope, like, I have partook in smoking weed and having an edible now and then and all of these things,
Yeah.
right? And those are things that don't affect me, make me want to use.
Yep.
But I did have an opiate addiction. This September, September 17th, I believe, is the let's see, it'll be 14 years, 13 or 14. I always have to look at it. I was 147 pounds. I come from a really good family. I love my family. I have a great relationship with my parents, my sisters, and my extended family. I mean, my dad was my best man at my wedding. I love him. He's the best. But, and so that was part of what I went through with the whole thing, was the guilt associated with, well, I don't come from a fucked up situation. I come from a really good situation, but for some reason I'm doing these things that I characterize as like scumbag things, stealing from my parents, lying to my friends, being deceitful in relationships and all of these things, and having really bad behavior, lack of integrity. And that was, me dealing with addiction. And, it was all about, where can I get my next fix? How can I pay for these pills? Who can I steal these pills from? You go to someone's house, or you're at your aunt's house, and you wait for someone to go into the downstairs bathroom so you can say, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom." You run upstairs to the upstairs bathroom, and you're going through their medicine cabinet. Anything that says, don't operate machinery on this, you're taking it. Going on your phone, putting in pill identifier, finding these things. And for me, I'm very open about it, and I understand people. Everybody's addiction is a different thing. Everybody's road to recovery is a different thing, and we have a bunch of people in the gym that I own right now, who work with people in recovery,
So
and the stories they have are insane, and they all went through it as well. I'm always so inspired by people who can turn their life around. For me, it was one of those things where. Um, I didn't think that I deserved a happy life. I didn't think that I deserved, when it comes down to it, it sounds corny, right? But, if we're going to be raw here, it's like, you don't think that you deserve love or compassion or empathy from anybody. So you treat
um,
yourself really poorly. And I didn't give a fuck, dude. Like I did not care, live, die, whatever, it didn't matter. And anything you had on the table, I was doing it. It didn't matter. Like obviously opiates were my drug of choice, but like, if you had Xanax or any sort of barbiturate, like that's going up my nose too. I'm gonna drink until I'm blacked out. Like I'm an extreme person. And obviously like my whole throat's tattooed, my whole head's tattooed, my ears are stretched huge. Like I'm an
yeah.
extreme person. That's what,
Yep.
if I'm gonna do drugs, I'm going to do the most amount of drugs. And if I'm
Yeah.
going to drink, like I'm going to, and that is a characteristic that I have, and something that I have that has made me successful in some realms of my life, because I'm super hyper fixated, focused. But when you're focusing on like, how can I get a handful of oxys, or how can I fuck this person over to keep this money, or how can I get my parents out of their bedroom so I can get in there and steal from them. Your focus becomes the wrong thing, and you end up getting yourself in trouble. So, I'm always grateful because I was one rolled stop sign away from getting pulled over and ending up in jail. You know what I mean? And ending up
Yeah.
with a very, very different life. Because when you're fucking around with pills and opium and all that, the charges are no fucking joke.
Yeah.
So you can get into some big trouble. And I just think that, when I decided to clean up, and I go into that in detail on lots of other podcasts, so I won't bore you with it. But when I decided
Yeah,
to,
man.
clean up and whatever, heading back to the gym, I'd played hockey my whole life, and so I was always in the gym. But the gym was like secondary to playing hockey. Like I love playing hockey. Like I love
Yeah.
the sport.
Yeah, dude.
The gym was something that was like a necessary evil to me. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like,
man.
we have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but when I kind of cleaned up and kind of had a look at my body, it started with like the physical thing. I like looked at my body and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man! Like you were an athlete your whole life, and when I was on drugs, I had abs, so I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh well, I could still pull chicks. I still like
Yeah,
I'm
man.
lean. I
I
don't,
look good, bro.
but like it's like a 147-pound dude with abs. It doesn't really mean anything. You're just malnourished. So when I started putting a little bit of weight on when I got off of the shit, like I was like, oh fuck, man, like I look like shit. Like I'll just start going to the gym, and it kept me out of trouble. And it really like those first like 2 years probably. I, I would spend in the gym was more like almost punishing myself. I would go in there to just like get it out. Like I was in there
Yeah,
five
bro.
days a week, like just get it out, stay out of trouble. And I think some of that helped me moving forward because I'm able to tap into that place.
Yep.
Um, and then over time with powerlifting, it kind of shifted into more of like an athlete idea of like training and all that stuff. I can still tap into that wild side of me where it's like I don't give a fuck. Like it's
Yeah.
that 10-foot walk from the chalk bowl to the squat bar.
Yep.
You know that's uh that's an ugly place
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
between my ears. That's an ugly place. And then as soon as I put my hand on the bar, I settle in, and it's like, okay, now let's just execute. But that between the chalk bowl and the bar, I tell people they can be anybody they want to be.
Yep.
And that walk for me, who I kind of become there, is I'm very hard on myself. I'm very, I don't want to say self-deprecating, but it's like, motherfucker, here we are,
Yep.
and now you have to do this. You've been through all this shit. Fuck you. Like, make this happen. Like, I don't care if you're scared. I don't care if your back hurts, that sort of thing. And it's created a situation for me where it makes me super grateful every time I can get under the bar for any reason, especially, going through this knee stuff right now. And
Yeah,
I've had
dude.
injuries in the past and everything. And it just makes me super grateful every time I get to train because powerlifting has changed my fucking life, dude, and it's been transformative to me. And I know that people think that there's a certain, you know, type of person who thinks that shit's corny, but like, bro, like powerlifting it's created a way for me to have a career where coaching people, makes me feel fulfilled. It allows me to meet people like you who I would have never met, dude. Like we would have
Yeah,
never
bro.
crossed paths, and you
Yeah.
you create relationships with people and you have this like common bond. It's how I met my wife. It's how I paid for my house. It's how it's how we got my wife out of serving tables and
Yeah,
waiting,
man.
and now she gets to work in a gym. And so every time I get to go in the gym, I mean, like the people I train with, they're some of my closest friends, and it means so much to me to be able to do that. And I know, a quick anecdotal story. Last night, I don't know when this will drop, but last night we had two people come out from Arizona that I coach. They came out to New Hampshire to squat and whatever. And um, the girl Ashley, she had torn her ACL earlier this year, and we've been working on coming back and all of these things. Last night was her first time in full gear, and 20 pounds lighter, she squatted 15 pounds away from her best squat ever. And it's her first time getting back under big weights after hurting herself. It's not a huge number, right? Like it's not these mind altering numbers. She's not sitting there squatting 800 pounds, but the look on her face when she racked the bar after and how excited she was. And, when we were exchanging texts after, to me, it's like that is also what I love about powerlifting because I feel very, I don't want to say blessed or fortunate, but I've put myself in a position where I can positively impact people and their lives and their confidence and all that stuff. And FedEx guy's coming into my driveway. Hopefully he doesn't interrupt us. So
He can
I've been
join,
able
dude. He
to.
can join. Bring him in.
What's up, bro? What do you think about raw powerlifting? So, so it's been really good because I put myself in a place where I'm super grateful that I can be impactful for people because I know what people were able to do for me and my coaches and stuff in hockey and I was a goalie so there was like coaching was a little more individualized and so I really am happy that I get to do that for people. Powerlifting changed my fucking life, bro. And Louis used to say his big thing was like the answers are always in the gym, right? And last year and the year before, me and my wife went through some hard times. Like we lost both. We don't have kids, but both of our dogs died in a pretty short amount of time. It was really hard for us. It was really a difficult thing. I mean, when Cashew died, it was a sudden thing. He broke his back, and it was terrible. He was a wiener dog, so they have like these
Uh,
they have like a tendency to have back issues or whatever. He was only
yeah.
3 years old. So we went
Oh,
when we put him down. It was terrible, dude. It was really devastating for us. We had a really hard time with it. I still like, I miss the fuck out of my dog. We have another one now, but it's just never the same. And
yeah, dude.
I feel like when you lose a dog, like I told Val, like when Winnie died, it's like my level of happiness that I could get to was 1% less
Yeah,
forever. And like,
yeah,
like when Cashew died, it's like 1% more less just because you miss him so much. We went and put him down in Boston and then drove straight back through Boston traffic to get back. It was a Friday. We got back to the house. I put frozen blueberries on my eyes because I've been crying all fucking day for
yeah,
about 10 minutes. Put him down, went straight to the gym and squatted with the boys. And I told everybody in the gym, I said, listen, I might not want to talk about it. I might want to talk about it. Treat me fucking normal. Like, I might be fine. I might start crying. I have no idea, but I'm here to do this. And I truly believe that the answers lie in the gym and not because you're going to do tricep pushdowns and you're going to get jacked, but because in those moments when you are training and you are mid set, you get to sort of disassociate. You get to have this level of clarity. It's sort of like when you go to bed stressed out, and when you sleep, your brain gets to sort of like compartmentalize things and sort of process things. I think in the gym you get a chance to do that too. And Louis saying that the answer is always in the gym. You always like when he was saying it, I always thought like it's just some old man like obsessed with the gym and he think
yeah.
he just wants you to be obsessed with the gym too.
Yep.
But it really goes beyond the sport and it really goes on to like self-reflection and growth as a human. Because I've learned some really fucking hard lessons in the gym and
Yeah.
I've hopefully been able to teach some people those lessons without them having to go through the hardships that I have. And yeah, I just being grateful for my opportunities that this sport has provided me. I mean, dude, like I would never have gone like why the fuck would I be in Utah or Portland or like like why
Yeah.
would I be why would I be in these places? I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
brother.
And
Yep.
now I get to experience those things because of the sport. So I'm super grateful. And it all came from kind of coming out of that adversity of, being an addict and finding a path to, giving my life a sense of purpose. And I think that people, let me cook here. I'm sort of rambling here, but I do think it's important, you know, People don't have to, your purpose doesn't have to be coaching people and showing them their confidence and having a brand and doing a thing. Your purpose could just be like, hey man, like you just feel better about yourself when you train. And that means that you treat your spouse better. And that means that you treat your mom better. And that means that you treat your coworkers better because you feel better about yourself. I posted in my story yesterday. Matt Vincent had this fucking sick quote. It's just like, the amount of love that you'll give yourself basically will be the amount of love that you can accept and give to other people. And it's like if you're treating your body right by going to the gym and you're treating your brain right because you're going there, you're going to be able to treat other people right as well. And I think that that really will just make your life better, bro. Like
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with how much you bench. It has to do
No.
with, how you feel about yourself and that confidence because that carries on to everything else. And for
Yeah.
me, it's like I look at people all the time. It's like, man, you just squatted 800 for the first time. That's sick. Work is going to be easy on Monday because that shit that you just did was fucking hard.
Yep.
You know, like,
Yep.
and I think that that stuff is
Yeah,
super
dude.
cool watching people find that. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super grateful, bro.
Yeah, and I think they're just like with the raw powerlifting versus the equipped stuff. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions from the general public about like, oh, there's just meatheads. What can the gym do for me? And it's like, dude, the gym can solve a lot of your existential problems if you let it. Like it really fucking can, dude. Like I promise, you're gonna
Yes.
forget about that shit, and your adaptation to stress will be much higher. Because if you put yourself through hell in the gym, then how is this going to get to you outside of the gym? Like your stress adaptation's so fucking high. It's like that dude that cut you off in traffic or whatever. That's not going to make you 0 to 100, man. You're going to be harder to move. You
Yeah,
know?
and I also think like the relationships that you create and, with powerlifting, you're dealing with there's no governing body, right? Like you're dealing with
Yeah.
whoever you're dealing with.
Yep.
And it teaches you how to work your interpersonal skills and how you treat people and what you're willing to accept for how people treat you, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of really like, you know, what I tell people all the time is you're never going to go to the gym and then be driving home and being like, fuck, I should have never gone today.
Yeah.
But you will be sitting on your couch and say, fuck, I should have gone to the gym today.
Yep.
It'll never go the other way. So it's like, I
Absolutely.
just tell people create the habit and now it's like, just part of my life, bro. Friday
Yeah.
night at 6:30, you're going to find me one place and it's going to be in the gym squatting.
Hell yeah.
You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
dude. Yeah. Yeah. So we're winding down on time here. I have one more for you. I
Mhm.
stumped Jimmy Kolb with this question on his live, so I thought it'd be a really good question to integrate into all the podcasts here. If you could train with one person in their absolute prime, dead or alive, who's it gonna be and why?
Holy fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
dude. Jimmy had the same response. Like it's a
That's
fucking banger.
crazy.
It's a banger of a
So
question.
it's crazy because, dude, it's funny with Jimmy because I bet you a lot of people's answer would be Jimmy.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. And he's like, "What the fuck?
It's pretty
Why?" He's
funny. I'm gonna say,
like,
I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, don't be a pussy. Make a hard decision. Like choose somebody. And I'm sitting here and I'm like,
"Yeah,
fuck. I mean, like, so here we go. Caveats incoming. So I got to train with Dave when like I trained alongside with Dave and all of his benches excluding his shirted ones because he has a guy who hands out to them specifically. Like all of that training, like I handed out those benches for that whole training cycle. I was
yeah,
there for the whole thing. So I got to experience that. Like, man, I have videos on my phone of him training that are just fucking crazy.
hell yeah,
So I got to experience like a modern person who is the best. Um, I would say for training with, I would say Louis because by the time I got to Ohio, he was in sort of, like the most I saw on bench was like 2 plates and in rack pull like 4 or 5 plates. Like he was older. It was crazy what he's doing based on his age, but
yeah,
it
dude,
was like nothing like, he wasn't going for a meet. Like he wasn't, it was more rehabilitative type stuff, right? So Louis in his fucking prime, when he came back, like that whole thing, I would love that would probably be it. But when it comes to like training, having someone coach you or having someone be around you. I never got a chance to meet Rick Hussey of Big
Big
Iron.
Iron. Yep. Yep.
Um, and I think having a training cycle with him as a coach,
Yeah.
I think would be so fucking sick.
Yeah.
Because it's so outside of, I got to have Louis coach me. I got to train alongside Luke Edwards. I trained directly with Coker for a long time.
Yeah.
I've trained with Dave. Like I've trained with all these people. Um, I have a good relationship with Dave Tate. I have a pretty good idea what that training would be like.
Yep.
And the most of the modern guys that are good, I'm pretty friendly with. So I think my caveat style answer would be
It's a hard one, dude.
if I'm training with someone and we're training partners, I'm saying Louis, not his first half of his career, but when he came back and
Yep.
started going after stuff that, right? Because just the tenacity is fucking badass, right?
Yep.
If I were talking about training under someone, I would say Rick Hussey of Big Iron because I just never got a chance to meet the guy, and if I had
Yeah.
that opportunity, that would be super fucking sick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a fucking great question,
Dude,
dude.
thanks,
That is a
bro.
great question. I used to, when I was doing the Stay Hated podcast before we brought Roman in, I used to ask everybody what was the coolest thing they had seen on the internet recently,
Oh,
and that stumped a lot of people because I would say like the internet's negative, and a lot of people say, "Well, like, what's the coolest thing you've seen?" And I'd get all sorts of crazy answers, but that right there, and then I did another one that was if you could give yourself advice as a young person, what would it be?
oh,
But I think your question trumps my questions, dude. That's a
dude.
fucking awesome one. I'm about to record another episode
Yes.
of Tales of the Warm Up Room with Roman here a little later today. And I might bring that up, dude. Because
Fuck yeah, dude.
that is a really, you just like put my head in the, like, it's like, am I gonna keep that answer? Like, I think I'll keep it. But that's a great fucking question, dude. Especially for people who
Nice.
have been around. So respect, bro. That's
Yeah, bro.
unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
I think you're doing what you're doing with this pod, man. I think it's really cool. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. How old are you?
32.
32. Yeah. So
Yeah, bro.
I first started, putting content together when I was 28, 29. So sort of like same age range.
Yep.
Dude, like you're just in this like really exciting time right now where it's like
Yeah.
you're excited to put stuff out, man. I'm stoked for you. I really am. And you're a great interview, dude. Like you do a really
Ah,
good job.
dude. You're
I've been
too
on a lot
nice,
of
man.
these where it's like on a lot of these where it's like kind of a dud, and it's
Yeah,
like
bro.
they're like, hey, how are you? Good. And then it's like
How's
these
it
weird things, but
going?
yeah, like yeah, no, you do a really good job, man, and yeah, I can't thank you enough for being on here. Do you mind if I pump a few of my things that I've got going on,
Dude,
like
absolutely not.
promote
Go
some stuff?
ahead, brother.
Yeah, so obviously we're getting ready to when do you release this? When will this be released? Are you stacking
Uh,
clips or do you know?
Probably within the next 3 days.
Okay, cool. So
Yep.
yeah, so for everybody listening to this, I hope you guys check out, Tales from the Warm Up Room. We've got all that podcast me and Roman are doing. We're going into season 5 now, so we should be releasing those in the next week or so. And then obviously twcstayhated.com for all the apparel stuff. And then I have a Patreon page, just patreon.com/trigger warning conjugate. And my Instagram stuff is really easy to find. So, either it's trigger underscore warning underscore conjugate, and then my personal page is Anthony CW13. And anyone who's listening, I know you said you're based like sort of the Northwest there. Anybody listening that's towards the Northeast, you got a gym in Concord, New Hampshire. Anyone is fucking welcome to come and train. Louis sort of taught me that, where it's like anyone who wants to come train here, come fucking train, let me know. We love having visitors, so just keep me in the loop. And like I said, man, thank you again for having me on. This has been fucking great.
Absolutely, dude. And I can vouch for your apparel. It is freaking sick. Every time you drop something, I'm like, dude, I just got paid. What are you doing? I need to buy groceries, but instead I'm trying to find a discount code for this freaking apparel. So it is sick
Cool,
freaking
man.
apparel, dude. So if you guys are out there, check it out. Anthony, thanks again, brother. I appreciate the hell out of you and what you do. You inspired me very much to start this brand myself. Keep doing what you're doing, man. We'll be in touch.
Yo, let me know when this drops, and I'll share it and put it out everywhere.
Awesome. I appreciate you, brother.
Cool, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, man.
See ya.